Okay. Okay, now we're live. Hi everyone. We are here to discuss search industry, search engine optimization, AI search, Google updates, getting traffic from organic search results, link building, all of those topics that are so important these days because search remains the major traffic driver for online businesses, for websites, for publishers. So we continue exploring how to increase our visibility in search and how to get discovered. We are waiting for people to get together. Before that, we are streaming to LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram is having trouble. X, which is Twitter. I still feel very weird saying just X because it creates so many other associations. So let us know where you are watching us from, and so that we know which of our platforms is more effective. LinkedIn is probably the one of those platforms that we focus on because it's just easier. They create landing page for every upcoming event. You can invite people, you can promote it. So LinkedIn, if you can find me on LinkedIn, it's Anne Smarty. Search LinkedIn, connect to me, and you will get notifications about weekly broadcasts that we are doing. So while people are getting together, I'm Anne Smarty. I'm the co-founder of Smarty Marketing, our agency, SEO agency that is located in New York. We specialize in high quality content, link building, audits, brand management, topical authority, all those tactics that these days are so important for online visibility. So check us out. With me today and always, April, our director of social media, and also so many other roles that she's helping us with, including design of our logo. Thank you, April, so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone. Hey.
April brings a different perspective to this broadcast because I've been in SEO for 20 years and it is hard for me to understand when people do not understand what I'm saying. So, April here is to clarify, ask questions, and talk to you, talk back to you while I'm busy covering weekly topics. We do have a different topic every week to discuss. Usually, it's very time sensitive based on what's going on in search, what has been announced, what has rolled out, what changes are there, including not just Google, but Bing, GPT search, Perplexity, all those newcomers that we have to deal with and figure out how to position our clients there so they are discovered on those platforms as well. I announce weekly topics through my LinkedIn newsletter. So subscribe to me on links on LinkedIn, and also my newsletter lives over at nsmarty.com. Very easy to find. Just type nsmarty.com and you can subscribe to my newsletter from there. Weekly topics I announce there so you have more context, more understanding of what we are talking about. You can click links to resources, see the screenshots, have some fun, comment. Please subscribe nsmarty.com. Today we have a very interesting topic. It's been a year that we know about Google fighting site reputation abuse. We discussed it a year ago when it was first launched, and at that point, I said that I'm not a fan of the name. I don't see it so much as an abuse. Those brands that can rely on site reputation, site authority, that is a site wide signal, have invested time and money into those domains, into their brands, and I don't see how it can be abused. A year ago, when this penalty, it's still manual penalty, was introduced to us, Google did create guidelines on how not to abuse your reputation in organic search. At that point, every huge brand was warned that this was coming so they could adjust their tactics accordingly or at least plan out their budget, a loss of that income. A year ago, it was all those huge domains that were publishing coupon sites, deals on their domains in a separate section with recent deals throughout the internet that people could save on. I saw a very interesting note from one of SEOs discussing it. It's very similar to how you buy a newspaper or used to buy a newspaper, and there was a separate section for weekly deals. So it wasn't exactly irrelevant, or it wasn't exactly an abuse at that point, because digital publications were just doing the same thing. They were using APIs, automated content. Many of them were using also editorial oversight over those deals that were published in that separate section. But Google told us that if there was no editorial oversight, this is an abuse and this section will be removed from Google's index. It was a manual penalty. All the big publications got it. They could have de-indexed that section prior to update, but there was no real reason for that because it would be still de-indexed with the penalty. The penalty only touched that section with automated content, not the whole site. Now, for a year, almost, I may be confusing the dates, but I guess it was at least a year, we were not hearing much about that penalty, and we were just trying to figure out what's the future of it. Now we know Google has updated its site reputation guidelines, removing any mention of editorial oversight. From this point on, whether you have editors that actually check every deal or anything else that you're publishing, third-party content as they call it, it doesn't matter. It is still an abuse, which is interesting because there was no prior warning to those brands anymore. Google announced the new guidelines together with the core update, so it was all simultaneously. Brands did not have time to prepare, or even I don't know how to prepare for that anyways. Another interesting update to that guideline was that FAQ. I think that Danny Sullivan was the man behind that FAQ. At least he announced it on social media. And an interesting thing there that it's not only editorial oversight doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if that content is automated or not. So it could be created by real people. Third-party content from this point on is any content that's created outside of your company, including human freelancers that you can hire to write your content. It is still third-party content, which I find not even interesting, but disturbing because there are so many small businesses who work with outside writers on a regular basis, outside editors who help them because you cannot afford to have a content team in-house. And it is now a third-party content. Now, there is a question in that FAQ, is every third-party content bad? Is every third-party content an abuse from this point on? No, Google says it is not. And the biggest thing that they want to avoid, that us to avoid, is creating third-party content with the only purpose to abuse search rankings, which is such a vague concept, just like as helpful content was vague and is still a vague concept throughout the months we are fighting with it. Abusing rankings is also a very vague concept. What does abusing or ranking signals mean? If you have a great website and you decide to add a section to it, whether it's automated or not, which may or may not be helpful to the current audience, but you may want to branch out to other audiences. It's always your right. How can you define abusing rankings? It's a very vague concept and it can be applied to anything. For any website, Google can point a finger and say, hey, they abuse rankings, and we will penalize part of their website. The good news that still site reputation abuse is still a manual penalty. So it's not algorithmic yet. So we don't deal with as much collateral what's you got the point, with so much damage for people who did not deserve it, like we saw with helpful content. So it's still manual. you are only impacted by it if you get your message. Like you don't have to suspect that you've been penalized for site reputation unless you got the notification from Google through Search Console. This is how manual penalties work. There is no, and it's also an interesting thing for this particular penalty, and I think this is the first time in Google's history, there is no remedy. You cannot revive that section from being penalized. Whatever you do, Google decided it's site abuse, site reputation abuse, whether it's automated or not, it will be not recoverable in most cases. You can de-index it and tell Google, hey, it's no index right now, remove that penalty from my site. It will be removed, but the section will not rank in Google anymore anyways. So if your income relies on some section of your site which may be suspected of being third-party abuse, that's your time. Start figuring out other way, how to pivot from that, how to make money other ways, what to do with it, because there is a huge risk that you will be penalized as well. Another thing to note here is that in another section of Google documentation, and I give the link in my newsletter and smarty.com, Google also notes that it can algorithmically detect a section, part of the site, a section, subdirectory, or subdomain, which is starkly different from the rest of the site, which I take as very irrelevant. If you talk about finance and you start reviewing doctors nearby or something like that, that is starkly different from the rest of the site, and Google algorithm can detect it right now. And in SEO community, we all think this is the first step for Google to make that site reputation abuse algorithmic, because that's how they want, that's how they can detect those sections of the site that are abuse in their point of view. And if site reputation abuse becomes algorithmic, then we will see a lot more damage to people and sites that did not really deserve it. For now, it's still it's not site-wide, which is good news. I hope if Google launches it algorithmically, it will not be site-wide as well. So the only thing that you lose is that section that Google thinks is abuse or is created to only abuse the ranking signals that Google has. So this is the update on that site reputation penalty, site reputation abuse penalty. I hate the word abuse, so I try to avoid it. But this is how it's called by Google. It's its official name. They think it's an abuse, and it's interesting how it has been developing from a very well-defined concept of automated content that's published without editorial oversight. In a year, it has become just any third-party content, can be manually created, can be automated, can be editorially reviewed or not. It can be still an abuse. A very interesting update. I think in the whole history of Google and its manual penalties, I'm not talking about algorithmic updates, because helpful content was probably even more weird. But with manual penalties, that is a very interesting development from very well defined to very vague concept that Google can hit any website and claim it's an abuse of its ranking signals. If you have been ever impacted, or you know anyone who has been impacted by that penalty, let us know. We would love to see more examples. I saw at least 2 affiliate sites that were written by people. Yes, there were different sections on that site, and there was a niche for that site, but Google penalized sections of that site for site reputation abuse, even though it was affiliate created affiliate reviews that were manually editorially written. 2, I saw just 2, but I would love to see more examples, because it's interesting how this whole concept of abusing ranking signals is being introduced by Google these days, and where it's going to take us from here. Thank you so much. I would love some questions. For some reason, I don't see any. I see the comments.
Here's the first one.
How would you define automated content? To me, it's anything that's API driven, when sites can talk to another, to some native API, whether it could be a brand that promotes its deals, or it could be weather, or it could be a safety index. There are many APIs that people use to make their websites better, more useful to people. But automated content is basically something that you do not do. You just use the API to drive, or feeds. RSS feeds can also be used for that. It could be also AI generated content. At this point, it doesn't really matter, because Google actually says that any third-party content can be an abuse. So I wouldn't be too much thinking about whether it's automated or not at this point, because as far as Google is concerned, it doesn't matter.
Here's another one.
Would Medium be considered that? I don't know. It's an interesting question. I know Google loves LinkedIn long form content, and it used to rank it very well. If we start talking about Medium, then Quora could be another offender as well, because it doesn't have any niche. Half of it is automated. Same with Medium. I don't think it would. It's a huge platform that doesn't as much relying on Google traffic. I don't see how user-generated content can be considered an abuse to anything. But as far as I'm concerned, I think Medium should be following the same topical authority rules as Google algorithm is. So when there is a well-defined expert, it should be surfaced on the platform better, because it is flooded by people who just use ChatGPT to create those articles. It is suffering from that a lot. So if it's hit, it's probably for that reason, that it becomes a huge platform of low quality content, and it's becoming it's spam all over the place. So if it's hit, it's probably not for such reputation abuse, but for that huge mass of low quality content with zero signals that drives no backlinks, no social media discussions, nothing. I hope not, but we will see.
It's just kind of ridiculous, because I bet like people who use the websites, if Google actually asked the people, like, do you have a problem with like these APIs generating like news that's relevant, or weather or whatever, they're probably gonna be like, no, I find it useful. Like, they're not gonna be like, no, I hate this.
That was my problem with those coupon sections that were penalized. I didn't see much problem when it comes to user experience. I always search for brand coupon, and then find top 3 results. Yes, the user experience can be comparable within 3 of them, but most of them had some interesting features. Like, you could subscribe to coupons, you could rate them, you can comment on them, you can say if it worked or not, and then the site would show you the statistics, like 85% people found it working, and last rating was, let's say, 5 minutes ago, and then it's obvious that coupon should be working. So there were quite a few sites that were penalized while providing a very good experience, even though it was third-party content, it was automated, and maybe even irrelevant to the rest of the site. Like, there was a lot of talking about how can Forbes be expert in online deals, but then, like I said, if it's a good user experience, that should be the ultimate ranking signal, not if Google considers something abusing rankings or automated content or anything like that. So I had problems with that definition back then, and now it's even more vague. Especially like we know that it started as a war against affiliate income. Many publishers covered that update as the end of affiliate marketing, at least organic search driven affiliate marketing. I know there are social media affiliates that are not affected by this, but for the organic search driven affiliate marketing, it's hard times because anything can now be considered abuse. And it's a very hard to define and say, no, this is not an abuse. Like, how do you protect yourself? Even if you get the manual penalty notification, how do you protect yourself and say, I wasn't abusing anything. It's your algorithm. Fix your algorithm.
Yeah. Here's a really good question from Sam.
We were recently looking into pulling in outside freelancers agencies to help with creating more content. To make sure I understand, sounds like this type of third-party content is still okay as long as we're trying to manipulate search rankings. This is a good question. I have so many little questions when it comes to this note that freelancer-driven content is third-party content. How would Google know unless you really say this is a freelancer that doesn't work at our company wrote that article? I don't understand why they would. I think this update to the policy was to justify another attack on affiliate sites. And at that point, how can you prove it was created by the freelancer or your in-house writer? There is no way it can be in any way verified. So I don't know how Google is going to go ahead with that FAQ that they published about the freelance-driven content. I hope there will be no real action for that. I have a suspicion that will be mostly affiliate-driven, income-driven websites that will be impacted by that. But no, as far as I'm concerned, content created by freelancers, agencies, editors that may be in-house or not in-house, it's all okay still. Is if it's good content, it's good content. 85% of online businesses cannot afford an in-house content team. So, and as far as they know what's going on, have some editorial process, making sure that those articles really targets their audience and solves their problems. I don't see how it counts who created it, outside expert or in-house expert.
Do you think that like having like author profiles on your website that like link to each article like can kind of help prevent it getting penalized that way because it kind of shows that there's like an expert behind it?
There are already a lot of little things you can do to show Google expertise on the site, including authorship, like well set up schema, links pointing to that author, and then back to those articles. There are a lot of ways. How much it's going to help? When I was looking at helpful content hit websites, some of them had very good authorships as talking about how they came to that a little niche and how they found their voice and why they want to cook that particular way, where they had education, where they traveled to try that food firsthand and how they changed what they found. So there were huge, great author profiles on some of those websites, which really shows why that person chose to write about that particular topic and why he or she is an expert on that. So whether it helped them, it's a lot of signals that are balanced here. And we see a huge difference between helpful content and site reputation updates. just because there is so much about site authority and backlinks in Google's algorithm that it's so hard to override those signals. That's why for site reputation abuse, it's only section wide, it's not site wide. And helpful content classifier is site wide, because unless there are authority, like outside authority flowing into that site, it will be a site wide penalty, because usually on that when you balance different signals, backlinks and branding, brand awareness, brand strength of that domain name overweighs anything else, even such strong classifiers as helpful content. Third party has to mean something else, right?
Who knows, really?
I don't know why they even have that third party note in the FAQs, because if it sounds like it doesn't matter who created, how created, and why created. What it really matters is if it's abusing ranking signals, and they define abusing ranking signals saying something like you have a strong domain and you use that huge signal to publish irrelevant content on your site. It's starkly different. It's obviously absolutely different section in terms of how it works, what it is about. Absolutely different. Like with coupons, it could be an article heavy website, and then there is a section with no content and just coupons. That's starkly different. Whether it's the same topic or not, it is not clear, because starkly different can be in form, in functionality, in anything. But then again, that poses another question. Like, let's say there is a Shopify e-commerce website with the blog on it. Are these two starkly different forms of content? Yes. Whether Google is going to treat them differently, like they on different domains, so that the authority of the main site of the homepage is not transferred to the blog. Sounds like it's something that could be implemented in the future, at least when you read their guidelines. It's not an abuse in any way, and Google doesn't say it's an abuse. But what Google says is that they will treat those starkly different sections differently, from so that those domain authority or site authority is not passed to a different section of the site. I don't think it's implemented this way yet, but from that note in their guidelines, and I think Glenn Gabe was the first covering it. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. But I think that sounds like something they're working on to prevent that huge site authority signal spread all over the site, whether it's deserved or not.
This kind of goes back to what we talked about before. Like, let's say like a cooking website has like a section of coupons for like cookware and other like home goods that are relevant to like what they write about. Like, does that risk being penalized? Because like
I feel like it is. It's not, maybe not penalized. I hope not. But Google can say that's not your content. You abuse your main site with your own content, with something you pull from elsewhere on the web. It could be struggling as well. Maybe not the indexed. I feel like if site reputation abuse becomes a signal, which sounds like they are trying to do, then I hope it's not going to work the indexing websites. I hope it will work the same way as they describe in that starkly different documentation, when the main site remains untouched, but that starkly different section of the site accumulates its own signals. So the signals from the main site are not passed to that other section of the site, and it's almost like a different website at that point, with its own signals, with its own backlinks, with its own user engagement metrics and clicks. So it's treated as a different website rather than the indexed like it works right now. So I hope that's how it's going to work if it becomes algorithmic, and sounds like it is going to become algorithmic next year.
That makes sense. I don't know. I just feel like the internet's supposed to be like a community in this, like people sharing things and like building each other up, and that seems like this is going backwards in that regard. But
I know
do
it
yeah.
is unfortunate, yes. And I feel like Google having so much data about user experience should be
Mhm,
more focusing on how satisfied the users are
mhm,
on each particular site than saying, hey, you have a huge domain and you rank, so you're abusing us.
mhm,
It makes no sense to me. The ultimate metric for the Google should be if it does a good job satisfying a user based
mhm.
on that
Uh,
specific search intent. And Google has all the data in the world, the hugest data set in the world to tell which pages really are doing a better job satisfying a user. And those, I feel like, site reputation abuse penalty is what it's, instead of working on the algorithm, it's patching those gaps in the algorithm doing a bad job. Actually, you need to
mhm.
fix your algorithm, not to scare people off with
Yeah.
updates. And I don't know
You
why they
don't.
even still have manual penalties. It's just,
You don't. I feel like you don't want to scare people into not having like other writers on your site because sometimes like you can get like relevant interviews or just have like outside experiences. Like that's just
it
makes the
is
internet
important.
better.
It is important.
Yeah.
Content is a great relationship building method
Hmm.
in itself when you get other people through, other experts, or even not experts, maybe your customers, no one knows them, but
Hmm.
you bring them to your site to share their great experience or their story or their article or whatever it is. And I don't know why in 2024 Google still has manual penalties. I think they were outdated. The whole concept of manually penalizing website instead of working on the algorithm is like 10 years old. Back then, I hope that all ended with link building penalties, but no, they come up with new ones and cannot even explain clearly what it is they need. Like, not at
Yeah.
this point, anything can be site reputation abuse because you're abusing rankings. It's such a vague concept in itself. But we will look at the examples. We will keep an eye on how it develops. We will be helping people that were penalized to the as the way we can. It's we're still figuring things like that out as well. So let us know if you've been impacted by Core Web update, which ended last week. So it's all done. There is a still crazy functionality with rankings after that, but we are used to that happen after the update is announced to be ended. But we will keep an eye. Let us know if you've been impacted by either site reputation penalty, abuse penalty, or core update, so that we are always interested in looking at different cases to that helps us understand what's going on and how to go about that. So let us know. We always welcome. I have 15-minute free call on our website, smarty.marketing. Feel free to schedule quick calls and share your site with me so that I could collect more and more data and have more experience with that as well, because we are all learning. Google is changing and we are all learning together with you. Thank you so much. Again, subscribe to my newsletter and smarty.com. We have a new exciting topic every week. Sometimes we review tools. It's not always renting like it was today, because sometimes we do have answers. In most cases, we do have answers, unless that's a very brand new topic that no one really knows how to go about yet. So subscribe, visit us here every week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. EST. We have a new topic to discuss and keep you updated on what's going on in the industry. Thank you so much for coming, and see you next week.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.